we are so excited to see you in the stand. How was that experience for you?
For me, it was a dream come true. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and so getting a chance to not only work with the incredible cast and creatives, but to bring a story to life that is so iconic, it was a blast. And I mean, I will say, having played Heroes for years, playing a character like Julie, who is so erratic and who is arguably the worst person you can be in the apocalypse in a lot of ways, making character choices that make me, Catherine, feel like a gross human being was very different than playing Clary or Mia or anything else. But, you know, it was fun to have pink hair for a few months and run around in sequins and, you know, other things and live in Randall Flagg's world of Vegas.
You know, I was going to bring that up because you always usually play like, you know, like the hero and everything. And so it was like, this girl is total opposite of that. So was that fun to just step into a completely new role?
It was very fun. I mean, that's why I do what I do. You know, I'm a chameleon. I want to live a million different lives and play a million different people. That world in particular was very eerie at times, especially in retrospect, given this year, sort of the mob mentality nature that becomes Randall Flagg's Vegas and sort of the choices that people make that are not what you would hope you would be in the apocalypse and are really, it highlights a lot of the darker side of humanity and what these adverse situations can push people into. So, you know, I don't advise people to follow in Julie's footsteps in any way, shape, or form, but she's a lot of fun to witness as she becomes sort of this erratic Tinkerbell of the apocalypse.
That's a great description. I love that. So you mentioned that you're a big Stephen King fan. Had you read The Stand? Had you watched the original miniseries at all?
I've seen parts of the original miniseries. I was reading the book already, and then obviously, you know, you can't really travel well with this book.
So big.
So I love it, but it's a doorstop sometimes. But what's great about it is I committed to finishing it. But Stephen King even wrote an alternate ending for this version, so it's a brand new telling of a story that so many people love. So I think it's sort of the perfect addendum to 2020 that it's coming in December, and it's yes, it's about a disease, but it's more about, you know, the people and the choices that you make and sort of questioning what you stand for and what it says about who you are.
That kind of brings me to my next question. So not only is it kind of ironic that it's about a deadly super virus at its forefront, and then we're in the middle of a pandemic, but also like one of the main themes is about, you know, good versus evil and how the choices people make. So that's something that's unfortunately going on right now as well in the US particular and in the world. So do you think, you know, I know that the free zone people, they're fighting for justice and equality and freedom. And do you think this is also particularly timely in addition to the super virus? Yeah.
100%. And I think, you know, having seen little bits of it in ADR, I think it's something that is going to be extremely poignant. You know, it's not necessarily going to be comfortable at times, and it's not necessarily going to be pleasant at times, but I think that's sort of our job as artists, is to highlight the dark and the light sides of the human experience and to force people to look at other perspectives and sort of question their own experience and their own perspective and their own choices. You know, that's, I think, one silver lining of 2020 as a whole, is that we've all sort of been forced to confront these kind of skeletons in our closet and the ways and the habits that we've formed and the ways in which we've lived our lives as a society, and go, how can we be better? Because we actually have an opportunity to pause and restart and sort of reset. And I think a clean slate is such a beautiful thing. And, you know, there's always room for a second chance.
That is a great answer and response, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, we're just waiting to do things. We're just waiting for the world to start again. And I was like, no, this is the time. We're hopefully never going to be in this situation again. So this is a time to educate and learn. People are like, I don't want to be involved in politics. I don't want to do this. And I was like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like, we're given this chance to learn and to grow and to fight for what's right. Like, if there's no other time to do this, we'll probably have in our whole life. So I think that that's great that you brought that up, because there are a lot of people that don't think that way.
Well, absolutely, and especially with so many important things coming up socially and politically,
Mhm.
it's our time as the younger generation to step up and create the world in which we want to live for the future, and to create the world that we want to see, happen in front of us. And I think the more people kind of educate themselves and realize that we have to make choices and we have to be accountable and responsible for them, the better that our world is going to be in the future.
So you also brought up that you filmed a movie during quarantine.
Yeah.
Okay. So you originally were going to have the monster contacts, but you had to do a lot of it at home. Did you have a team or did you do all of this yourself?
No, we were doing this at a point in the quarantine where we were not allowed to be in the same room as each other. So we all shot this. We were never in the same room together the entire film. We did it
Wow.
entirely over Zoom, entirely in quarantine, one person crews. And I mean, I've always been a person to have a huge respect for a film crew and
Mhm.
knowing that each person is an expert in their field. But having to do so many of these things myself and really learn how to set deck and do special effects makeup and light and transfer footage and set up cameras and do all of these things. Thank God for our director of photography, because he sat down with 6 actors over Zoom and step by step did everything. I don't know how he did it. He's a miracle worker. But it's so great. I met so many people that I made so many great new friends, and so many of my old friends were a part of this too. And it just shows the power of what you can do in this world when you have a group of people that wants to accomplish something. And when you work together, you can really do anything no matter the circumstances. But I haven't seen the finished product yet, but the pieces that I've seen, it's a really fun, weird, kooky, silly horror comedy. And it was an experiment that actually I think paid off in the end.
So you have a lot of the work you've done, they have really big fan bases, particular Shadowhunters, Maze Runner, Arrow. When you get recognized, which role are you most recognized for?
It's usually Shadowhunters or Arrow, and it usually depends on my hair color as well. Like I would say when I had red hair, it was always Clary.
Yeah,
Particularly, because the show was internationally a Netflix original series, so particularly when I was traveling and when I was in Europe and things like that, when that was a thing that we could do. um,
of
Whoever
course.
it was always that. But being blonde and traveling, Arrow has such a huge fandom as well that uh, it depends, and some people it's both, and some people it's one thing or another. But I just love this world of fandoms, and I grew up reading these books and having such an attachment to different characters in the YA genre, and the fact that I've gotten to be a part of that community and gotten to be a small part of the Shadowhunters fandom. Even they've created such an incredible community that has gone far beyond our story and far beyond any of us to create this lovely space of love, really. That I'm just so honored and grateful to be tangentially involved.
Do you have any number one fan encounter that you can think of that was one that always stood out to you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I have a list 10,000 miles long in my head, but um, if I can think of one in particular. There have been so many people that have come up to me, and this is sort of amalgamating a lot of stories into one. But when I was younger, I was always looking for these kind of characters that were complex and strong and empowered women, either physically or intellectually or whatever it was. And I've met so many young people that have come up to me at these Comic Cons and gone, I tried boxing because of Clary or Mia, or I found the courage to pursue the education of my dreams because Clary didn't let anything stop her. And it's these things that's what these stories are supposed to do. They're supposed to show people that despite insurmountable odds, you can still achieve something in your life and you can still accomplish whatever it is that you want, whether it's becoming a doctor or becoming an artist or, getting your house organized. Anybody can do what it is that they set out to do if you can just find the strength within yourself. And the fact that, our show has been able to inspire that in other people is amazing.
All right, so last question. Not sure if you can answer this, but last year marked the end of Arrow. Have there been any updates on a possible Canaries spinoff?
We have no updates.
No.
Pandemic, I know. I feel the same way. Pandemic has unfortunately thrown a monkey wrench into everyone's timeline. And, they've had so much to figure out with how to even possibly make TV anymore. So we'll see. I'm far from done with Mia Smoke. And so if there's ever an opportunity to put on the Arrow suit again, I'm 100% in, whether that's Green Arrow and Canaries or popping in and out of the other series or next crossover or whatever it is. I'm not done with Mia Smoke yet.